My wife took everything in the divorce and hit me with child support. 3 years later, I uncovered the truth. I'm not the father. Now it's her turn to pay. Hello Reddit I plus here. 3 years ago, my life fell apart. Emma, my wife of 6 years, blindsided me with divorce papers. Her reasons? She claimed I wasn't supportive enough, that I worked too much, that I didn't prioritize her. It felt like a punch to the gut, especially when she fought tooth and nail for full custody of our son, Liam. Liam was my world. I'd held him the day he was born, taught him to ride his bike and read him bedtime stories every night. Losing him broke me more than losing Emma ever could. But Emma wasn't content with custody. She also came after me for child support, despite earning nearly as much as I did. The court sided with her, of course, and slapped me with a hefty monthly payment. My lawyer warned me it was better to settle than drag it out. For Liam's sake, I didn't fight. I moved into a dingy apartment, sold my car, and downsized my life to make ends meet. For 3 years, I scraped by, always wondering how things had gone so wrong. Then came Liam's 9th birthday. I hadn't seen him in nearly 6 months. Emma always found excuses to cancel my visits. This time, she forgot to invite me to his party. Hurt but determined, I sent him a gift. A custom baseball glove with his name embroidered on it. A week later, Liam called me to thank me. His voice was filled with joy, and for the first time in years, I felt a spark of hope. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. Mom said you didn't want to come to my party. What? Liam, that's not true. I wasn't invited, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. That conversation planted a seed of doubt. If Emma was lying to Liam about me, what else was she hiding? It was a stray comment from an old friend that cracked the case wide open. At a chance encounter, he casually mentioned seeing Emma with her ex-boyfriend Ryan right before our split. Ryan and Emma had a history, a messy one. Suddenly, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Liam's paternity than I'd ever considered. I ordered a DNA test kit, swabbing a toothbrush Liam had left behind during his last visit. It was a gamble, and I hated myself for even considering the possibility. But when the results came back, my world shattered again. I wasn't Liam's biological father. At first I was numb. Then, I was furious. Emma had not only cheated on me but had also knowingly pinned someone else's child on me, and taken my money for years to raise him. It wasn't just about the money, it was the lies, the betrayal, the stolen moments I'd never get back. I decided I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I hired a lawyer and filed a petition to terminate my child support payments based on the DNA results. But that wasn't all. My lawyer advised me that I could sue Emma for fraud, seeking repayment of every dime I'd paid in child support since the divorce. The case gained traction quickly. Emma was served papers, and the shock on her face when she realized I knew the truth was almost worth the years of pain. She tried to contact me, but I refused to take her calls. In court, Emma's attorney tried to spin a sob story, painting her as a struggling single mom. But the evidence was damning. Emails, texts, and timelines all pointed to the fact that she knew Ryan was Liam's father long before the divorce. When Ryan was subpoenaed to testify, he reluctantly admitted he'd always suspected Liam was his son, but hadn't wanted to disrupt my marriage. The judge ruled in my favor. My child support obligation was terminated immediately, and Emma was ordered to repay me every cent I'd given her since the divorce. Her lawyer tried to negotiate a payment plan, but I insisted on a lump sum, or I'd go after her house, her car, and anything else I could get. For the first time in years, I felt free. The financial strain was lifted, and the truth was finally out. Liam's paternity didn't change how I felt about him. I loved him, but I knew I needed to protect myself from Emma's toxic games. Liam and I still keep in touch. I've told him I'll always be there for him, even if I'm not his biological dad. He's too young to understand the full truth, but one day I'll tell him in a way that doesn't paint his mother as the villain. As for Emma, she lost everything she'd fought so hard to take from me. Her reputation in our small town took a nosedive when the court documents became public record. Ryan stepped up as Liam's father, but their relationship is rocky at best. And me? I rebuilt my life. I got a promotion at work, bought a new house, and started dating again. For the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe. Sometimes life gives you second chances, not to undo the past, but to build a future where you finally come out on top. As life settled back into a rhythm, the dust from the court case slowly began to clear. I was thriving in ways I hadn't expected. My career took off, my friendships deepened, and for the first time in years, I felt at peace. But peace didn't mean the drama was over. One evening I got a surprise call from Ryan. It had been months since the court case, and I hadn't heard much from him since. His voice was tense. "Hey, man," he began awkwardly. I thought you should know. Emma's been talking about leaving town. She's saying you've ruined her life." I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. "Ruined her life?" "She did that to herself," Ryan sighed. "Yeah, I know. But here's the thing, she's planning to take Liam and disappear. She thinks if she moves far enough, you can't hold her to the repayment order." That hit me like a truck. Liam had already been through so much, and while I was no longer legally tied to him, I cared deeply about his well-being. I wasn't going to let Emma uproot him on a whim. I immediately contacted my lawyer. While I no longer had parental rights, the court's repayment order and Emma's custody agreement with Ryan gave me some leverage. Together, Ryan and I petitioned the court to block Emma from relocating without his consent. The process was grueling. Emma fought us every step of the way, claiming we were ganging up on her. But the judge saw through her manipulation. Not only was her relocation plan denied, but Ryan was awarded joint custody of Liam. It wasn't the outcome Emma wanted, but it was a victory for Liam. For the first time, Ryan stepped into his role as a father, and I began to take a step back. It was bittersweet, but I knew it was the right thing to do. With Liam's future more stable, I finally felt ready to focus on myself. I threw myself into my hobbies, playing guitar, hiking, and volunteering at a local youth center. It was during one of these volunteer shifts that I met someone unexpected. Her name was Claire, a fellow volunteer who had a sharp wit and a kind heart. She was nothing like Emma, grounded, genuine, and refreshingly honest. We hit it off instantly, bonding over late-night conversations and shared values. Claire knew about my past. I didn't hide it from her. She listened without judgment and offered a perspective I hadn't considered before. "You've been through hell, but you came out stronger. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. That says a lot about who you are." For the first time, I began to see myself not as a victim, but as someone capable of building a life worth living. Emma's life, on the other hand, continued to spiral. Rumors spread around town about her financial struggles and strained relationship with Ryan. The house she'd fought so hard to keep was eventually sold to cover her debts. One day she showed up at my doorstep looking disheveled and desperate. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice trembling. I hesitated but nodded, stepping aside to let her in. She sat at my kitchen table, clutching a mug of coffee, as she finally admitted what I'd suspected for years. "I made a mistake," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I was selfish, and I hurt you in ways I can't take back. I thought I had all the answers back then. But now, I realize how wrong I was." Her words didn't move me as they might have once. I didn't feel anger or satisfaction, just indifference. "Emma," I said calmly, "I've moved on. I hope you can too. But I can't give you the forgiveness you're looking for. That's something you'll have to find within yourself." She left quietly, and I knew in that moment I'd truly closed the door on that chapter of my life. 2 years later, life looked completely different. Claire and I were married, and we'd just welcomed a daughter, Lily, into the world. Liam, now 11, still called me occasionally, and Ryan kept me updated on his milestones. One day, I got a letter from Liam. His handwriting was scrawled but legible, and his words hit me right in the heart. "Thank you for always being there for me, even when you didn't have to be. You'll always be my dad." That letter reminded me that the past didn't define me. It shaped me, yes, but it didn't control my future. I had learned to let go of the pain, the betrayal, and the anger. Emma's choices had once robbed me of everything I held dear, but in the end, they led me to a life I never thought possible. A life filled with love, purpose, and peace. Because sometimes, the sweetest revenge isn't getting even. It's moving on and thriving.